Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. Feeling a little deja vu here, except this time I don't have a velociraptor chewing on my arm. I am your host, Professor Jeremy Vilmur. This is Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze, and now we're going to bring in the star of the show, the man of the hour. The only Triple Crown winner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, man, quick to the Bat Cave or to the Batmobile or where the fuck you want to go. I'm here. I'm Double B, Bobby Blaze, and I'm waiting for my meat, Jeremy. I'm waiting for me meat, man.
Yep. Sounds like you're letting your meat loaf a little bit.
I'm trying not to let my meat loaf, man. Folks, if you're just tuning in, which apparently y'all are, hey, it's me, Double B, Bobby Blaze, Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, like you said. And right now, I'm doing the job, Jeremy. I'm doing the job for the meat man.
That's the way it sounds.
So we started recording. Thunder was everywhere. The dog was snapped. We called it the cow dog and thunder show, I guess, because your dog was all up in your grill and thunder was all over this fucking, it was like right on top of my house and I was breaking up like crazy. So we're going to try this process. I got a message from my friend that's supposed to drop off some steaks and hamburgers, which I appreciate, but so I'm just waiting for my meat man. We've got interrupted about 3 damn times so far, but we're going to try to have a good podcast like we always do. If nothing else, by God, we'll have a good time doing it. How's that?
That's it. You know what's funny, Bobby, is that while you were trying to text me to say, hey, we got a break for a second, I had a few minutes earlier discovered that when Cow Dog was biting my arm, she'd actually broken the skin. So I'd been sitting here with dried blood on my hands for like 4 minutes thinking, well, we've only got 45 minutes to go.
Stop the bleeding. Well, we took a break at the most appropriate time, I guess. Yes, he didn't bleed out on the program. Well, the things we do for this program, folks.
Exactly. But it turned out that was bleeding the hard way, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
You think a pro wrestler's ever been like dog bit in a match before to the point of being broken open?
I don't know, man.
Somewhere in the South, I'm sure somebody did it.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Chain pit bull match or something.
I think the hillbillies had the raccoon. I think it'd chase people around. I don't know if anyone got actually bit by the damn raccoon or not. We know people have been bit by snakes in matches. We've seen that. I'd say down in the deep South, there's been some dog bites in a match. I would
have to think so. We are talking about the year 1966 today, but before we get into that, Bobby, we came across the headline as we were waiting for your meat to get there.
Yes, I sent you a text that Ed Asner had died. I found that out today, or just while we were taking our break there. I just texted you really quickly back about 1966, knowing that year. I checked real quick. He was in El Dorado with John Wayne, Robert Mitchum, and a very young James Caan. And, of course, as you text me, there was a bunch of bit parts before the Mary Tyler Moore show. But as you know, he was in the 1974 original version of The Wrestler with also Vern Gagne in that movie. So Ed Asner, rest in peace. Very long and successful movie. And honestly, I thought he may have passed away a couple years ago.
He was actually still doing, I don't know.
My meat's here. Give me a break. Hold on. Let's take a 2-minute break.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to step outside while you're doing that then.
Do that. I'm going to have to unload this meat. Yeah. All right. Yep.
I'm over here trying to record a show and Bobby's over there playing with his meat. You there?
Hey, I'm there.
All right. You done playing with your meat?
I got my meat, man.
Somehow that set off my Google phone into answering questions for some reason.
I heard her say, "What can I do?"
Yeah. Oh, but what I was going to say real quick about Ed Asner was even just a handful of years back, he was providing a voice for that Boondocks cartoon. So
okay.
I believe he was in his 90s.
I was going to say he would have been 90. I think he was born in 1929, wasn't he?
I think that's what I saw.
Yeah, 1929. Yeah, I just looked at it. November 15th, 1929.
So, I mean, he was a fairly old guy, but he was staying active. You know, he's a former Screen Actors Guild president as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Damn.
So, I mean, he was, active, and, Ronald Reagan was a Screen Actors Guild president at one point, too. That's how he got into politics. Melissa Gilbert as well, but I don't think her political career ever went anywhere. But yeah, so Ed Asner, we're going to have to add to our list of possible watch-along movies that original version of The Wrestler.
Yeah.
I think that would be an entertaining one to throw in there. But Bobby, let's kind of get back on topic here. What are we talking about this week?
Oh, was you recording?
Yeah.
Were you recording, man? I'm sitting there thinking about my meat. I got like some pot roast. I got some hamburger and apparently a couple of sirloin tips in there. So anyway, 2 big bags of meat. It felt like about 10 pounds each. No kidding. He said he had a half a cow, so I must have got a fourth of a cow. No kidding.
Years back, my dad had a friend who lost his farm and he had a buffalo on his farm, right? So this guy tells my dad, he goes, "Hey, if you shoot this buffalo, I'll give you half of it." So my dad got out an old fucking 50 caliber rifle and shot the buffalo. But then he had nowhere to keep a fucking half buffalo. So he ended up having to give the fucking thing away. Do you have any idea how big half of a whole fucking cow is? I mean,
yeah, well, hey, it's like you told me. It's like the Indians with the buffalo. No wasted parts. I want to eat every fucking thing in those bags one way or another. It might take me 2 damn years, but
give it a shot, by God.
I'm going to try. I'll put some of it on the grill, and I'll put some. He said, put the pot roast in the slow boiler. He said, take it slow on that. But other than that, what the hell? Free meat. Free meat.
No, you can't pass it up. Turn it down.
Oh, back to 1966. I know you took some tremendous notes this week, Professor. And so I'll let you go through them until it's time to add my 2 cents. How's that? So works. Start us off in 1966 if you don't care.
Hold on, because we're redoing this. You forgot something. You got to talk about the time warp in Ashland.
Oh yeah, right. Let me get a shout out there, man. We've just went everywhere today, folks.
Yeah.
Real quick, shout out to Earl down at the time warp. I appreciate you, my man. A man I hadn't seen we talked about it yesterday, about 4 years, I guess it was, since I last saw this man on an independent show. Used to be a regular. We stayed shared the same hotels down in Florida when we did TV tapings for WCW. And believe it or not, this man has got a jump shot and can play some basketball. And that's what we mostly talked about. And you're going to laugh when you hear him talking about playing basketball. The Barbarian. Yes, the Barbarian. I got to see Barb yesterday. It was great to see him. Had her picture taken together. Spent a little bit of time before had quite a few people coming to see him there. But he said he remembered me shooting outside very good, which I used to be able to. But I said, yeah, because I saw what you did to the Stro and Bobby Eaton when they tried to come down the middle. And his clothesline. And he said, "Hey, Bobby, no ref. And I said, yeah, I know. That's why I'm not coming down the middle. Unless I'm down there and get me a rebound, I'm not coming down near there. But he's a great guy, man. Of course, he's one of the toughest people ever. But I got a heart of gold. And he looked great. He looked fantastic health-wise. Seemed like he's in a really good place physically. Man, to see the Barbarian once again, thank you, down at the Ashland Town Center time warp location. So good deal, man. Thanks, Earl. Yeah.
So does Barbarian, does his wife head his security team?
Well, I'll tell you this, no one was messing with him, that's for sure, but also he was not getting any trouble. So I think his wife is the only person in the world that he fears. So I think he was staying in line very, very well yesterday.
Okay.
So she may have been around somewhere keeping an eye out, so he didn't get in trouble. Of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, I think he ripped the door off the hinges back in the day when they were shooting that movie Body Slam. And I guess he got some other stuff, just big physical guy. I don't know exactly what happened. But apparently one night she had to come and get him, and she was none too happy. And apparently only person that he fears in this universe, is his wife. But many, many years ago, he's a changed man. He's a really good man, and I'm sure his wife is as well. A good human being. They're just good people,
Yeah.
So that was a nice visit, man. I had a nice picture. Several people texted me today that saw it. That's on my personal account, and then I just sent out a tweet there while we was on break of Barb and myself. So,
cool.
Appreciate you letting me get that.
Well,
there, Jeremy. I'd almost forgotten because we recorded this about an hour ago. Yeah, and I already forgot.
Well, for anybody, anybody who's wondering, Bobby had a meat delivery and a thunderstorm. I had a fucking rambunctious dog, and so half of what Bobby was saying earlier didn't record, and I was kind of wondering, well, fuck, what am I going to do with this show? And then after we waited everything out, it seems like things are going okay. So we're just going to keep our fingers crossed and our nose to the grindstone, or however that saying goes.
Well, I don't hear any dogs in the background, and there's no thunder here any longer. It's very sunny. As a matter of fact, during that quick hiatus, it's like it didn't rain or anything. My car is dry, the road is dry, and I know for a damn sure it did. We did have a thunder burst, and you heard all the thunder. It was wild there, and I was breaking up, but we're just going to roll with 1966, man, and have fun with the podcast, like we said. So I think that's only shout out this week. Some more down the line here, but start us off, Professor, because you did take some great notes, and we'll start the conversation about pro wrestling. How's that? And pop culture.
Yep. So we're talking about the year of 1966, which I have often said was probably the best year in television. But we're gonna, kind of focus on both TV and wrestling. So to get us started, I'm going to cover the world champions in 1966. So, Lou Thesz started the year as the NWA champion, but lost it to Gene Kiniski. And I believe this is the end of Lou Thesz's runs as NWA champion. Hell, he may still have more days as champion than anybody else. I can't remember right now, but, over in the AWA. Now, Bobby, I was a little shocked on this one. If I was to say, Bobby, who was world champion in the AWA in 66? What would you say?
I would say Vern Gagne.
That's what I would have said. You want to hear something? Vern Gagne was not champion once in 1966.
Wow.
Yeah. It started that year. Mr. Wrestling was the world champion at the start of 66. He and Mad Dog Vachon had a match that had kind of a schmaltzy ending, so Blackburn made him redo it, and Mad Dog Vachon won, comes out, stays world champion from that. Now Mad Dog loses it to Bruiser, Dick the Bruiser, and then Bruiser loses it back to Vachon, and Vachon ends the year as the AWA world champion, and what was actually a very eventful year for that title. And then we get over to the WWWF, and I'm sure everybody's going to be shocked to find out that Bruno started and ended the year as champion. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anything to comment on about the champions?
Yes. Thesz apparently 3,749 days, longer than anyone else in history. Just so you know, you were correct in that.
I was thinking.
So he held it for a title for a combined total of 10 years, 3 months, and 9 days. So, wow, that's pretty damn good. I was surprised about Vern not being there in the AWA. That's just one of those things. You said what you said. Not surprised about WWF champion. I think Bruno won the title in 63 in Baltimore. Kept it to 70 or 71. So,
I can't remember which specific
no surprise
year,
there.
Yeah.
No surprise there. So good stuff, man.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Hey, before we get too far from it, do you know what's going on today?
No.
The NWA 73rd anniversary show.
Oh, yes.
At the Chase, Bobby. They are wrestling at the Chase.
Yes. So the empowerment or the Empower for the women was yesterday, last night on Saturday. Yep. That's right, the 73rd. By the time you hear this recording on Tuesday, off last week, woo! Ric Flair's supposed to be there for the NWA 73rd. Yep. And I'll tell you this, I'll come back to some other stuff I was watching last night later on, but I did catch this yesterday. The voiceover work that John Goodman done wrestling at the Chase, in the city of St. Louis was excellent. They did like a tour, maybe a 3 or 4 minute bit there. I don't know if you've heard it or not. If you haven't,
I didn't.
Check it out. It's really good. John Goodman does the voiceover, and they're talking about wrestling at the Chase in St. Louis, and does a pretty good history lesson. I think it's about probably 4 minutes long, to be honest with you. Very, very good. Very good. I watched that yesterday. So, man, we got to, I don't know. My brain, I'm thinking, I'd like to watch that this evening.
Yeah,
I know it's on Fight TV.
Yep, I'm kicking it around right now. I'm just like, maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. I haven't bought it.
I may do it, man. I may do it. I may just download Fight TV and do it.
Yeah. So Trevor Murdoch's got another shot at Nick Aldis tonight.
Yeah. I saw you posted, put something out there on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you are at the Geekish Cast on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me at Bobby Blaze 744 or hit our joint account at Bell to Bell Blaze. That'd be real cool to hear some feedback about the NWA 73. If anyone, and I'm sure many of our listeners are watching, excuse me, or going to watch rather. With that said, Jeremy, I hope, it is my hope that we, with what's going on out there in the world, the people down there, Hurricane Ida, our Gulf Coast family down there, New Orleans, out in that area, Louisiana, we got a lot of fans down in there. Mike and the gang, Sparks, Third Coast, Adam, all you guys, man, I hope you come through this really good. The reason I brought that up, this Hurricane Ida, I guess it's been 15 years ago that Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, and hopefully this is not nearly as severe. But also I was just thinking, I wonder if it's going to block out a bunch of cable, internet, all that a lot of our true fans may not get a chance to watch this NWA. So just a thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if technology like it is, I don't know. They may or may not be able to see it live.
Well, see, being in California, I get shocked by how bad some other states' internet and cable are. I know talking to you and talking to Nate and just other people out east and in the south. Our internet usually holds up through everything except a power outage here. Like if a power goes down, obviously you lose everything.
Right.
But you guys, a line can go down and then your whole town's without internet, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully, not that losing your internet's going to be the worst thing that can happen, but hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully for everybody down there, the worst thing that happens to them is they lose their internet. Exactly. Let's hope that's as bad as it gets. So yeah, guys, sit tight, keep your shoes dry, see what you can do, stay safe. I don't know what kind of advice to give, so I don't have any. Let's see here. We're going to keep going on with some other stuff that happened in 66 in wrestling. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
Strangler Ed Lewis passed away.
Okay. Did anyone ever smarten him up that this business works better when it's a work?
Well, I think
we talked about that, right?
I think somebody told him that. I think he choked him out.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You want to prove me wrong, kid?
Man. Let's see here. Fritz Von Erich beat Billy Red Lions to win the vacant NWA Texas title in Dallas. Paul Jones and Stan Stasiak would trade back and forth the NWA Pacific Northwest title up in Oregon. Crusher and Dick the Bruiser win the AWA World Tag Team Champions. Bobby, do you know a better mat team than Crusher and Dick the Bruiser? Talk about tag team specialists, man. I guess, man.
Yeah, they just hit you in the head with not a bottle of beer, but a keg of beer.
Exactly, yeah.
And burned your eye with a cigar,
Yeah. Check out this team they took the titles off of, though. Larry Henning and Harley Race.
There's 4 tough bastards right there.
Yeah.
Did a referee even try to get involved?
Probably not. I imagine he just stayed outside the whole time. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Let these guys go, and whoever wins, wins.
Yeah, that's just one of those ones like, hey, Stanley Blackburn, I know how much you love to declare winners. Why don't you get your ass out there? Joe Blanchard would go on to take the Texas title off of Fritz Von Erich in Fort Worth, Texas later in 66. Spiros Arian and Antonio Pugliese, God, I fuck some of these names up so bad, win the WWWF United States Tag Team titles from Baron Mikkel Shikluna and Smasher Sloan. Fuck.
Easy for you to say.
Howdy.
I'm glad you're saying it, not me.
Bobby,
believe me.
Check that out. There was a time that tag team wrestling in the WWWF was so prominent, they had a mid-card tag title.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of tag team titles and tag team wrestlers, Pat Patterson ends the year as the NWA Pacific Northwest champion, winning the title from Tony Bourne in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, man.
Yep. So we're going to move on to TV. In 1966, the Rolling Stones did their second appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. He had a really, really big show. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Bobby, are you a
Rolling Stones?
Yeah. Bigger Beatles fan or Stones fan?
Oh man, Rolling Stones, man, the greatest rock and roll band in the world, baby. Not to put a dig in against the Beatles, man, but I'm a Rolling Stones. As a matter of fact, I was telling you earlier, I'm just going to kind of briefly repeat that. That's what I did on my Saturday night. R.I.P. Charlie Watts, 80 years old, drummer for the Rolling Stones, passed away this week. But I was in a Rolling Stones kind of mood last night. I started off with Going to a Go-Go, a six-pack of beer, a Saturday night. Going to a go. So I started there, but, Sympathy for the Devil. I listened to Some Girls. And then earlier I said with a slip, this won't be a slip. I said, and also Helter Skelter. Of course, that was a Beatles reference because I meant, what the fuck did I mean, Jeremy? Do you remember?
You meant give me shelter is what you were sure.
And I said Helter Skelter. Yeah. So I was trying to feed you there because of earlier. I did. That was an actual miss. The first time we tried to record this, that time I was trying to throw something out. Yeah, man, that Give Me Shelter, when I hear that sometimes, that's a good song to come out to when you're, depending on the wrestler character, but I know it's old, but that Rolling Stones, man, I'm going to go with them over the Beatles for myself. How about you?
Yeah, I'm a bigger Beatles guy. I'm a bigger Stones guy. My dad was a Beatles guy. I never really got them. Of course, by the time I was born, they'd been broken up for a couple years. The Stones, obviously before I was born through now are still performing.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Whatever's keeping Keith Richards held together, man, I hope he keeps doing it because he does it all.
Yeah.
And and we're not trying to bury the Beatles here or the Beatles. We're just saying, we're both kind of Rolling Stone kind of guy. So I had had my Bobby Eaton shirt on this week at the gym, and a couple people recognized it. And this one person, she had on a damn Rolling Stones shirt, and I went to put them over. It was just a girl at the gym that I see sometimes. She's on the treadmill. She recognized my Bobby Eaton shirt and was asking me about this and that, and I started trying to put the Stones over, and she started talking about Aerosmith. And I'm like, wait a minute here, what? I'm putting your shirt on because you got a Rolling Stone shirt on, and you want to talk. I said, maybe in America, you could say, whatever about Aerosmith. And it's not a dig towards Aerosmith and Steven Tyler and the boys, but just saying, if you're wearing a world tour with the Rolling Stones and the big lips and all that, and it's like World Tour 82 or something, I'm like, a little false advertising here if you want to talk to me about Aerosmith, So I told her, that's like I was friendly about it.
Well, yeah, that's like the concert T-shirt version of catfishing. I'm pretty sure.
I think so, man. Yeah, she about snapped me in, man. I like, but I told you off the air, this is going to be my solution. I may ask her out for coffee and sit down and order a fucking beer.
That'll
I don't drink caffeine. I don't think she'd go to coffee with me anyway. She actually thought I would been in some band around here many, many years ago, and that used to be popular in Ashland and Lexington, some of these college towns that traveled around. I was like, man, I remember that band, but honey, I ain't that damned old. Sorry. But hey, wear your Rolling Stone shirt and talk about Aerosmith, and I'll have a beer, you have a coffee. We'll
see. Yeah.
See how that goes.
That's it.
Man.
I'm going to start veering into TV for a little bit here.
Yes, please do. We got some stuff to talk about on TV.
Yeah, well, in 66, CBS pulled Amos and Andy out of syndication. They were getting complaints from civil rights organizations. And Bobby, I don't know if you've ever seen or maybe listened to an old radio show of Amos and Andy, but that shit did not age well.
Yeah, I haven't heard it for many years. And I couldn't even tell you the last time I'd heard it. I think someone made a reference to it on a bid or something, and I went and looked it up, but it's been years ago. That's that. I never, at that particular year, as I'm going to discuss as we go on, I was only aware of references to it,
Yeah.
So
that's
grandparents, parents,
Oh yeah.
But,
it was a big show when it's time. Probably, probably a little more so on radio than it was on TV, but it was like everybody knew it because I remember still hearing references about it when I was younger in the 80s. People were still,
When I was older, meaning the delivering newspapers, and by that time I had moved from Baltimore to Ashland, and there were still references to it in the neighborhood I lived in. Just hearing it through school teachers and other kids, stuff like that. But I never sit around and listened to it on the radio or anything. Like I said, I think I looked it up just because someone done a bid on it. I don't even know what or when, but it's been a while back.
Yeah.
So,
in
like
60,
you said, some shit.
Oh yeah, it's some hard to listen to shit now. That's for sure. In 66, this one blew me away. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, aired for the first time on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
You know why I was shocked by this, Bobby?
Tell me why.
I had just assumed that it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and the Christmas special had just always existed. The first two Adams bonded and the Charlie Brown specials came out,
Well, dig this, man. So I was about 3 years old. So for me, it always did exist. I did not know. I watched it, obviously. I couldn't tell you what year it debuted, that I was 3 or 4 or 5 or what. I just remember being a young kid. And I don't remember watching it at 3 particularly. I know something I was watching. We'll get to in a little bit. I do recall that. Mm-hmm. But at probably about 5 or 6, I may have actually been 6 because maybe the first time I saw it, I would have been in Kentucky by then, old enough to recall it. So I just thought it always existed myself as well. And for anyone out there, you mean it didn't? Been around a while, man.
Oh yeah, it has.
Been around a while.
It's pervasive, Here's one for you though. When you were a kid, well, you'd have been a little bit older, but when you,
a little bit older,
the after school hours, did you ever come across some of the shitty Japanese stuff that we picked up in syndication?
Well, I'll tell you this, it wasn't shitty, and I thought it was new, but it was Ultraman.
Yeah.
Man, and I'm going to tell you, that came out, we started getting TBS in 81-ish, and I was in high school playing ball, and if we had a road trip, or a home game rather, right, not a road trip, home game, you could go home and eat dinner, before your game took place. And I could get to go home after school and not have practice, or like I said, have to be back at the gym later on in the evening, not right then. And man, 4:05 hit, baby. And I'd be either off the bus or caught a ride home, whatever it was, to eat that pregame meal. And there's Ultraman. And man, if I got a day like that, I was going to have a good game, because Ultraman, he pumped me up, man. I was stoked to watch that Ultraman. I thought that was great stuff, man.
Yeah.
But I thought it was new, Jeremy. I thought it was new. It was on TBS, and that was new,
Yeah. So for me, it was after school hours, like 3, 4 o'clock, right in there.
Yeah.
And it was one of the local stations that played it. And for me, it was just a kick-ass superhero show, with giant monsters
right on.
And the stuff like that. I do remember when I was a kid, because in Japan they do TV more like the British do, where you have a solid story, then you break, and then you come back with a continuation. So the Ultraman we had here actually ended with the Ultraman who was on Earth dying, basically. And so as a little kid, that kind of fucked me up a little bit. I was like, And so that always, I was probably 5, and so we're talking, 45 years ago almost, and it still stands out in my memory,
Yeah.
Perry,
I don't recall that.
It's I don't remember all the things, and I haven't gone back and watched it.
Yeah.
Actually, a buddy of mine lived in Japan, and I was trying to get the series on DVD, and I just never followed through on it. But Yeah, it was cool. It was, big monsters and a giant robot fighting them and smashing through little cardboard cities. It was kick-ass stuff,
It was, man. It was.
Here's a little piece I just threw in here because I thought it was just kind of interesting. Perry Mason aired its only color episode in 1966.
Huh. Now, my mom was a big Perry Mason fan. She liked that, man. She liked that. You wrote it down here. The Case of the Twice Told Twist.
Yes.
Only color version, huh?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I know she liked that show. My grandmother did, as a matter of fact, too. Both of them did. Yep. That was one of their bonding things, other than, a couple soap operas and stuff that back during that time. So,
HBO just did not a remake, like a reimagining of Perry Mason where he was a hard-boiled detective. And I guess his original books, that's closer to what they actually had. This Perry Mason as a lawyer was something that they did on TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's more of a detective.
Yeah, apparently that was the original idea. So I need to go check that out. That's what everybody told me. But I do love that, like, film noir, hard-boiled, smash mouth kind of detective story.
Right on.
Yeah, Raymond Chandler being one of my favorite writers, Cool. Here's another one, though. Tabitha was born on Bewitched. And the reason this is a big deal to me is I have had a crush on this woman probably since the mid-'70s, and I went and looked her up when I came across this little fact, and she's holding up all right, I would have to say. She's okay.
Man, she's still twinkling that nose and getting your eyes to gleam, huh?
Exactly, yeah.
Man, well, I liked Elizabeth Montgomery myself.
Yeah,
man, I ain't gonna lie.
She was something in her time. That is for damn sure.
She was, man.
Her, I just that one and I Dream of Jeannie are two of my holy shit shows. Look at that chick.
Yeah, that was, man, one of my buddies, we used to live together in the mid-'80s, and man, it would drive our girlfriends at the time crazy because we'd be sitting around, after lifting and eating, hanging out, doing what you do in the 80s, just we'd bring up like fucking Barbara Eden and Elizabeth Montgomery just in conversation. Like, remember you as a kid, man? Damn, she was hot, And I was in my mid-20s at that point. It was just, so here we are still talking about it another 20 years later. That girls are over.
Yep. Absolutely.
Man. Wow.
All right. So we're going to get down to the brass tacks of this matter now. There are 3 or 4 major reasons that I have said this might have been the greatest year in television, 1966.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with number 1 on the list. It's not in any particular order, but Batman and Robin debut.
Yes. Man, I'm going to tell you what now. I watched Batman and Robin, and that was the first one of, if not the first programs that I got to watch or recall in my memory watching it. It came on 2 nights in a row, like Tuesday and Wednesday or Wednesday, Thursday. Can't recall exactly which nights it were, but you can look that up, history buffs. But I do remember that
channel.
Yes, and I'd watched that. And fast forward to I was about 10. My brother's 4 years younger than me, and we were in Kentucky, and we were wanting to play one Saturday, and he said, "No, I can't. I want to watch Batman." And I was like, "Oh man, my aunt was watching us," and I was like, "No, come on." Anyway, long story short, she said, "You sit your butt down here and watch it for your brother and your cousin, because when that show first come out, you loved the Batman." And I went a couple years, I guess, between 68 or 69 when it went off the air, in 68 I guess it was. There was a few years that passed, and I was like, okay, I don't need to watch Batman, but by God, I'll tell you what, I watched it again every Saturday after that. I kept watching with my brother again, and not only that, just a few ago on IFC, they ran them in sequence from 9 until noon every Saturday for several months, man, and I got through every episode as an adult just about probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was excellent, man, because I used to love those special guest villains that I didn't catch as a kid, but I caught as an adult. Yeah. So, and of course, the Batman 66 movie come out too that year, so.
Introducing
good stuff for me,
shark
man.
repellent,
Yes, that's it, man. He carried it on that belt. The utility belt had everything.
Everything you could want.
Yeah. And I recall what you're getting ready to go to next when this happened, because it got over me huge, man, huge. And that program was what, Jeremy?
Well, the next one I'm going to mention is the Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Van Williams and Bruce Lee.
Yes, man. I'm going to tell you what, man. I just went crazy when I saw that. I'm like, it was over with me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, oh, shit, man. Look at this badass car. Look at the mask. Look at the gun. Also, on YouTube, just a few years ago, as an adult, they ran those in sequence. They may still be on there. Someone had them on their server. And, man, I watched them every night through, you know, however long it took me. It's only 23 episodes, maybe. Maybe 26. I don't know if they did 213 episode season or not, but I think there's like 22 of them. But it's really, man, as an adult, I went back and watched both of those series and loved it, man. Yeah. I won't say I felt young again, but I felt alive again, like, oh, man, because I'm catching stuff I didn't catch as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Well, you remember on Batman and Robin when they'd scale the building?
Yes, loved it.
And a guest star, like a really random cameo.
Open the window.
Yep, would stick their head out.
Yes.
So I gotta talk real quick about these things, because these are two things I really love here. You know, Batman, when you see it when you're young, it's cool. Then you get a little older and it's corny, and then you get a little older than that and you like it for its corniness, you know?
Yes. Yes.
One of the main writers on Batman went on to write the Flash Gordon movie in 1980. And that's why it comes across so campy and silly as well, is because it was the same guy. Green Hornet was a character who was actually based on the Lone Ranger. He was supposed to be the Lone Ranger's nephew. Ooh. And he had been kind of hung around and then doing different things with him. Now, one of the interesting things here was that they launched the Green Hornet with a Batman crossover.
Right.
That was some bold TV for the 60s, I think, you know, but
yeah.
Robin was
that's how I knew about the Green Hornet, because of the crossover.
Yeah.
I was old enough by that probably second year, whenever it was, that I knew what was going on. My mom had a really good mom that would, you know, take the time to explain things to me. Mm-hmm. She did the same thing with my brother and reading and things like that. So yeah, she, and of course at that time, that's, of course things changed later on, but at that particular time in my life, you know, housewives stayed home and took care of their kids. Oh, yeah. So I was with her, you know, and I was with my aunt and uncle and her, and, she would explain, you know, took the time to explain things to me. Yep. So, that's how I recall that, actually.
Yeah.
Because she took the time to do that.
Yeah. So, Robin was supposed to beat Kato, which was Bruce Lee's character, in a fight. And Bruce Lee's like, fuck that. So Burt Ward actually hid in his trailer for like a whole day, avoiding Bruce Lee. Yeah. Bruce Lee was going to beat his ass. Bobby, a handful of years back, I accidentally stumbled across, while we were in Reno, that there was a comic convention while we were there.
Okay.
And so we went back for the second year, but the second year was nowhere near as fun as the first. Because like the first one, we're running into people from Firefly at the bar, and that tall, pretty redhead from Doctor Who. We just run into her in a restaurant. And, Michael Rooker was sitting behind me at breakfast one day. Okay. And just a lot of cool stuff. So we're like, okay, we'll go back next year. Well, the next year, Adam West and Burt Ward were there. Now, I could give a shit about Burt Ward, but Adam West, he was getting to be a very old man, and for the majority of my life, Adam West was Batman, you know?
Right.
And so it was Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes were first. Me and my ex-wife went and had our pictures taken with them, got autographs and shit. And we had to get out of line to go right back into line for Adam West and Burt Ward. Now, this is my first sign that I didn't pick up on that my marriage was in trouble. We get in line, and she looks at me and she goes, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the casino now. And I said, well, wait, she goes, I didn't watch Batman as a kid. So she left me in that line with this bunch of fucking basement dwelling losers. Okay. So I'm already in a bad mood, and I'm getting ready to go in there. And the lady comes out and she goes, hey, everybody going in there, you can stand between them or behind them or next to one of them, but Mr. Ward does not want to be touched. So don't put your hands on either of them. I looked at her and I said, who the fuck wants to touch Burt Ward? So I go in, and you can see, like, I've got the picture, and I look fucking pissed off standing behind them. You know, I'm just like, I'm in a sour mood. So you get out of that, we get back together with my ex and her sister and our friends who we met there, and we go to dinner. And you know who's sitting at the next fucking table? Burt fucking Ward and his goddamn entourage. He's got these 3 fucking losers that he's probably been hanging out with since the late 70s. So I'm getting drunk and I'm fucking mouthing off about what an asshole I think Burt Ward is, but nothing ever came of it because I was just kind of waiting.
Oh, geez, Jeremy.
One of these assholes stand up and walk on over here. But from that story, we go on to Star Trek.
Well, hold on. I got a question because I know you're a big Star Trek.
Yes.
Real quickly, and this is not the only thing I took away from that story, though.
Yes.
So I saw, I was at Lexicon a few years back, and I saw Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
Have you ever seen, I swear to you, Kevin Smith was just like coming through. I was unloading. He came through and, hey, I was across from blah, 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 just a quick nod. But Jason Mewes comes in. Dude, he's one of the smallest, skinniest dude I've ever seen, man. He's little.
Little guy.
I couldn't believe how little he was. And I was just put a box down. I reached across. Hey, how you doing, man? Big fan. My son, my youngest son, was a big fan of theirs, too, of course. I just put him over like a half a second because they got shit to do and I had shit to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I was like, damn, man. I didn't realize how small he was, just like because he looks taller and, on the movies, he looked tall.
No,
but I didn't realize how thin he was.
In person,
but,
he is
anyway.
He is definitely a little guy. What was funny?
Oh, fuck. And I know I'm a bigger guy, I just dwarfed him. I'm like, damn, man, I thought you at least my height, brother. But he's like small.
Yeah, well,
and that's not a dig towards him. I still like him and all that. I'm just saying. I was surprised how small he was.
Yeah, he's a real friendly guy. And, Kevin Smith,
super
too.
Nice.
But what was going on around this time, there had been a show out of Canada called Todd and the Book of Pure Evil. And Jason Mewes played a perverted janitor on this show. It's a funny fucking show. If you ever get a chance to watch it, do so. It was canceled.
I'll check it out, yeah.
Yeah, it was canceled, but they were working on a animated movie to wrap it up. So as we're standing there getting our pictures taken with Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, I said, hey, I got a question. Kevin Smith goes, yeah. And I go, no, not for you. I said, hey, Jason, how about this movie? And he goes, oh. And Kevin Smith looked like all crestfallen, and Jason Mewes looked like it was the first question he got all day. So I was like, okay,
Yeah. Well, when I got there, what happened was I had some boxes in my hand, and I was going to a booth on the left, and they happened to be walking by what later that day was going to be called Wrestlers Row, where we were all at. But they were there and they stopped for just a brief second because Kevin was saying something like he had to be at this particular spot like at 9 for like a panel thing or something. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason they had stopped to talk. And then I just put him over real quick with a nod, whatever. Then when Kevin walked away, I looked over at Jason, got to really kind of speak to him, what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn, that's really cool. But I know you got shit to do too,
Yeah, yeah.
And I never went and looked for him because Kevin was one of the main people that's going to be there that day. Him and the $6 Million Man and Ric Flair. Those were the 3.
Those
were the main 3.
That would have got me to a show, yeah.
Michael Rooker was there too, also, because that's like I said about 4 years ago. I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago I was there, and Lee Majors was the big draw because he with the University of Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky University connection from out here, and then of course the Ric Flair is going to get over, man. The nature boy's going to get over, man. But it was a good deal. And got kind of sidetracked there, but sideways. I just want to ask you. So, also in 1966, I know you're a Trek fan. Star Trek debuts. Go ahead, take it over, brother.
Star Trek debuts. And even though it was actually a big draw for NBC, they canceled it every year it was on. But it starts in 66. It doesn't really blow up until it goes into syndication in the 70s. Now, here's a funny story I came across today. Roy Shire, wrestling promoter here in California, was a big chewing tobacco guy. Always had a mouthful of chew, right? So KTVU, they had a studio show there and all this stuff. Well, Roy Shire, being, I guess, an Okie or something, did not give a fuck where he spit. He spit right on the floor of your office, right on the floor of the fucking studio. He did not give a fuck. And somebody pulls him aside one day and said, Roy, knock this shit off or we're pulling the show.
Yeah.
So he didn't. So they pulled the show and replaced it with Star Trek.
Man.
It left Big Time Wrestling without a home there for a while because KTVU was just like, we are sick to death of this fucking cleaning up your tobacco shit. And I thought that was
blame them?
Yeah, no, I thought that was an amusing story because I've known like some of my grandfather's brothers and stuff, like the really old men. They don't give a fuck where they spit.
No.
Yeah.
It'll be slobbered all over the damn shirt. Old flannel shirt, fucking tobacco juice running down it. Got the wife beater underneath covered in tobacco juice.
And they chew that they chew that tobacco that you fucking, it's in
the
a plug. Yeah. And
they chew the plug, man. They bite out of that motherfucker. A big old fucking dried out horse turd and just wrap in that paper and take a snap off of that and chew that motherfucker, man, and spit just everywhere. So also this here on Roy Shire real quickly. Yeah. I guess he apparently married a girl from Ashland, Kentucky, man. I don't know the year. Rock Rims was going to do a book on
it's
Roy Shire, and I think was it 40? No, let's see. Hold on. Let's see. What year was that? He married a girl like right out of high school from Ashland, Kentucky. He come through here and wrestled at the National Guard Armory. I can't remember what year Rock Rims told me it was, though. He asked me for information. I did not have it. The people that I knew were that started the original, I'm sorry, not the original, Ashland High School, the Paul G. Blazer class, the very first class that went over there at the local high school, Ashland Blazer now. Anyway, she was just a little bit older than some of the people I actually know that are still alive in Ashland today that I, people's parents and grandparents and stuff. But I had no one knew about her because she was like a few years older than the class I'm speaking to, who are people in their 70s now, But I thought it was cool that Rock wrote me that little, asked me a little question because I bought a book off of it. He said, by the way, you're from Ashland. I noticed this. So I guess Roy Shire married a girl from Ashland.
Yeah, and you know what?
Or his first wife.
So Rock Rim's book about Roy Shire is out. It's one of those ones that's out of print. Because the way Rock does books,
I wasn't sure if it's out yet. So
it's called The Professor. It looks like it's one I want.
Okay, yes,
but also the one I'm really holding my breath for is he's got his Ray Stevens book is supposed to be out this year, and that's the one I'm like over here just chomping at my bit to get a hold of. I was watching some stuff about Big Time Wrestling this morning, and they were showing how, for his time especially, but how acrobatic and innovative Ray Stevens was. That, what we call the Ric Flair flip, well, that was Ray Stevens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thing about Rock Rims, man, I bought the Ron Starr book because I knew Ron Starr, the Bad to the Bone book. I saw he had advertised the book for the Professor, now that you said it, on his Twitter account, and he's just at Rock Rims on there. If you give him a follow, but man, when he puts the book out, he just does it all. And here's a tweet from 3 days ago, and it's I never concern myself with awards. If I am happy with my work and the readers appreciate and keep coming back for more, those are the only rewards I would ever need. And I guess he's got a picture here of several of his books, including The Professor, The Wrestling Genius of Roy Shire, When It Was Big Time. I think you own that one.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, and then Legends and Icons. And like I said, man, give him a follow. It's good about the Olympic Auditorium up there right now. And I know we kind of got off the sidetrack of Star Trek, but the point being, we're a professional wrestling program, so we're going to talk wrestling. So hit that up on Twitter or hit myself up at Bobby Blaze 744. This Professor Jeremy Vilmur up at the Geek Cast, or our joint account up at Bell to Bell Blaze, as I mentioned earlier. So before we jump into one more big, unless you have anything else to say about Star Trek, but one more big TV show that debuted that year.
No, you know what I do want to say, since we're talking about books, Bobby. Why don't you tell us about your books?
I will be more than glad to, man. Thanks to the good professor, there's easy links to get to my books, the print editions of my books. And that, if you go to, both of them are available on Amazon. If you go to tinyurl.com Blaze Book 1. That'll take you right to Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel, my very first book. Came out in August of 2013. So it's been out for a few years, as you can tell if you do the math there. I think that's about 7. Anyway, it still sells. Still a good read. It has about 125 positive, fair, and honest reviews. I've only had to have one review removed that said Bobby sucked, which is not a sucks or whatever it said. That's not a review. But so it's been well reviewed, and it's coming up as a 4.5 reading. I'll accept that, man. Anything over a 3 is great with me, especially if you're fair and honest. My second book, I kicked that on 2, The Educational Wrestler. If you go to tinyurl.com/blazebook2. It'll take you right there. It's easy. Make your purchase. The reason we use those tiny URLs is because the show gets a little bit of a kickback. Jeremy gets that through his Amazon affiliate account, and I get a little, royalty from Amazon for selling the book. And everyone goes home happy. And hopefully you read one or both the books, and when you do, you enjoy them enough that you leave myself a review. As well as for this program, especially on Apple Podcast, we get some reviews on there. We got some really good reviews there. Just all we ask is, like I said, be fair and honest, man, and dig it. And I appreciate you when you do buy a book. I do appreciate it very much. I do not comment on the Amazon comments or reviews. Amazon asks authors not to do that. The only thing I do is if I know someone personally has bought one, or if they're on my Twitter account and they told me to purchase it, I definitely thank them. And if I see a review, I say, hey, man, by the way, I really appreciate that review. And I do. And I mean that sincerely. I had a 3-star review, and I read it, and I was like, my God, I would buy this book today if it wasn't my book. And I went and looked at because he put it over so huge, but I only gave it 3 stars. And I went and looked at the person. I didn't know this person. Still to this day, don't know who it is. I went and looked at some other reviews they gave on Amazon. And they had like a couple other wrestling books, and they also had he gave them 3s. But I read the review and I thought, hell, I might buy one of these. And then one of them was a Black & Decker handheld, like one of those blenders, and he gave it a 3-star review. And I'm like, hell's a Black & Decker, and it's $20 for a handheld blender. And I read the review and I said, fuck it, I'm going out and buy me one of these. I bought me a handheld based off the 3-star review, because the gentleman took the time to write up why he thought it was 3 stars. And I thought, this guy just, he's a hard customer to please. So I was very pleased with that 3-star review. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because the words he wrote into the review, it wasn't a, hey, Bobby sucks. It was like he took the time and broke down that, I stumbled across this book, blah, 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 and he put it over, and I'm like, damn, I'm going to run out and buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, hey, we're the monkeys.
Well, I was going to say, he's one of those guys who's like a harsh judge. I mean,
Yes.
He'll sing his praises, but, unless you really blow his socks off, you're getting a 3, but his 3 is better than most people's 5,
Absolutely. Yeah. Very well said. Yes. Yes.
Real quick, before we go to that, I do want to remind everybody, we do have a new website, bell2bellblaze.com, which has a store section where you can find Bobby's books, and you can find some of our t-shirts, like Arn's favorite enhancement talent, Daddy Said Sell, Pin and Painting. You can find our shirts there. So check that out. Also, you can leave reviews for our shows. You can leave us a voicemail. You can sign up for our emails. bell2bellblaze.com. All right, Bobby, let's get on to the monkeys.
Yeah, I jumped the gun there, man. I looked at my screen, I was dying on me. I said, oh, the monkeys debut. Dude, I remember that because they had that really cool car, and they're down at the song, hey, and they roll down that beach. I thought that's funny. They do reverse and all that. I'm like, I was captivated as a kid, man.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I dug that show, man. I don't know. I don't know if I watched it necessarily in 1966 or 67, because I don't know how long it was even on at that time, but I did enjoy it, man. I did enjoy it. And that's one of those shows I can still watch today, too. Think while we done this podcast, was it Peter Tork that died, maybe? Or was it Michael? Someone died just in the last couple of years. It might not have been this run of our podcast, but it was during this podcast, maybe the first run we were on, the first 18 months we did it. And MeTV did a special on the Monkees every Sunday, like at 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and I watched those. Honestly, I can't remember which one of them passed away, though, and it's been in the last couple of years.
Well, I think
you people can find it out there. Just saying.
I'm trying to remember now. Are any of them still alive at this point? I don't even.
I don't know. I know we could sit here and look it up if you wanted, but I'm just thinking, whoever it was, I think it's Peter that died in the last 2 years, and I know they ran, for whatever reason, they ran it on MeTV, and I watched several episodes every Sunday. I'd watch 4 episodes from 5 until 8 or so, or whatever long you get in there.
But
anyway,
I think Mike and Mickey Dolenz and Mike Nesmith are still alive. So I think
you're right on that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure those two are, and I'm not going to sit here and look it up because I think Peter Tork was who passed away. The reason they had the show on MeTV, they remembered it.
So they were trying to cash in on Beatles mania. The thing with the Monkees,
yes,
they were all musicians, but they didn't do their own music. So they were all good comedic actors. They were all good musicians. They just did the music behind the scenes. Of course, they had like some of the best studio musicians in the world doing the music.
Yeah.
They got to a point where they made a movie called Head. Okay. And the only reason they did the movie and called it Head was because they wanted to make a sequel. And then in the ads, they wanted to say from the people who gave you head. That is the whole fucking thing. That is the reason they named that movie Head. That was
the people who gave you head.
Yeah, a long way to go for a joke that never paid off.
Right.
Yeah. I loved the Monkees when I was a kid. I got a soft spot for goofy, wacky humor, which they fucking nail out of the park in every episode. Even their dullest episode still has great spot bits in it. Great little.
It does, man. Yeah. I enjoyed it too. I cracked up several times, just even as an adult, like, oh yeah, this is, And let me tell you something. Way back when, it wasn't 1966. It was probably had to be maybe 69, Jeremy. Just so you know, because at the Baltimore Civic Center, I got to go to a car show. Like I said, family dynamics were different at that time. And I saw the Monkees mobile. I saw the Batmobile. This is no shit. I'm not making this up. I saw the Munster mobile. I saw those cars, man, in person as a kid. I'd have been about, I want to say I had to be between 5.5 and 6 years old. So when I say 69, it put me right in that ballpark, depending on what time of year it was. And also, if I'm not mistaken, because I did this as a 21-year-old male when I lived in Baltimore, I think their car show at the Civic Center is either February or March. Back in the day, and so that would make sense that I'd be about 5.5 years old, and so I got to see those vehicles, live and in person, man. When I went back in 21 as a 21-year-old, the two things that stood out was you're not going to believe who was there. It was David Hasselhoff was there with the Solid Gold Dancers, baby. He had 2 dancers with him, and of course Kit was there. And I never forget, man. Like I said, I'm 21, but where I was standing at when he come out, I was like right there, not intentionally, but I just happened to be, Alexa, hush. So anyway. She heard about David Hasselhoff, started lighting up in there, man. Damn. Just saying. But back in the day, but he was there with the 2 Solid Gold dancers that come out with him, and boom, he was right there, and they started doing a little talk, and I was like, well, this is all right, because it just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So anyway, that's got to see Kid as well several years later, and got to see the Hoss,
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
And wasn't necessarily there for him, to be honest with you. Was just at the car show.
Yeah,
revisiting my youth, if you will.
Yeah. For me, I think I love the Batmobile. The Munster coach is cool. The Monkees car I love. The one I'd really want to see is Dragula, Grandpa Munster's coffin hot rod.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, that would be the one I'd want to check out. But was that all the same guy who did all those cars?
You know what? I don't know. I honestly do not know. I'd like to. I'm actually have to look that up, man.
Yeah,
because that's a good question. Well, let me ask you this: If there was a professional wrestler that was on TV in 1966, would you think he would be in the Monkees? And who would that wrestler be?
Well, of course, I know the answer to this because
I know you do. You've told me. I'm just trying to set you up.
This is one of my favorite trivia bits.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, they did an episode where Mickey Dolenz was being a wuss or something, so he went to like one of those like He-Man groups to toughen up. And you know, in this course or in this cult or whatever it was, amongst bodybuilders and all the other people there was Mick Bockwinkel.
Yes.
And they had him roughing people up, and it's a funny bit. You know, check it out.
I've seen it since you brought it to my attention, and I tell you what, man, he's a damn good-looking guy, built real good, and does the part really good. You know, I think it's still on YouTube. You can pull it up there, or I did at least a couple years ago when you smarted me up to that bit. I thought that was pretty damn cool, man.
Oh yeah, no, there's a reason that Nick Bockwinkel's in my like top 5 favorites. I mean, he's just a fucking all-around fucking great character, as well as just like he looked like a world champion should look, I think.
Yeah.
Even as
so articulate, you know, I love that about him. And when I slow down, sometimes I can be articulate, but usually I get so damn excited on here. I just go, man. We have a good time. You know what I'm saying, man? Oh, we just have a good time.
Trust me, my ass gets out over my skis all the time, man. You know?
Oh, man.
I can't tell you how many times I've been off on a topic and then all of a sudden just go like, wait, fuck, where was I headed with this?
Where were we at? Oh,
yeah. Just keep talking. Just keep talking.
You'll come back to the point. We'll figure it out.
Oh shit!
I don't know. You want to go back to your wrestling conversation? I know we had some debuts from '66. We if you want to close out with that, or it's up to you, man. Whatever. We kind of don't want to leave anyone hanging because this is a professional wrestling podcast. Do you want to mention a couple of professional wrestler debuted that year?
Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll hit a couple here. Yeah. Why don't you start?
I know one. Yeah. I know one, and that is Leo Burke, man. And Leo Burke, I got to work with him up in the Maritimes in Canada, not once but 2 summers in a row. Wow. The first one being about 16 weeks, and the next one being about 18-week tours I did early on in the early 90s, and worked with him as a singles as well as in tag team matches up there. And I'll tell you, I learned so much from him. The original Cuban Assassin was up there as well. But those two working as heels, because Leo was a face up there for years and years, but he turned heel at one point, and then he came back as a baby. Anyway, I got to be around Leo, and he had actually, if I'm not mistaken, Terry Funk also debuted in 1966. Maybe 65, but I'm pretty sure his official professional debut is 66. And back then, the Cormiers, which is Leo Burke's family, they would, in the winter, they don't run up there. In the Maritimes, it's too damn cold. Everyone loves hockey. And they're fighters and they're fishermen. That's what they do up there. They fight, they fish, and they fuck. That's what they do. And they go to pro wrestling when wrestling comes through for 3.5, 4 months of summer. But they would do a town exchange, and they would go to Amarillo and work, and vice versa. So Leo was a lot like Terry Funk as far as he did not waste a move. And I learned so much from him psychology-wise, and learned about not wasting moves. And when I help people out and they get a little bit older, sometimes some of them are kind enough to come back to me or leave me a mess and say, man, I watched this match of you and this and that, and they'll say, you never wasted a move. And I just learned that because of Leo Burke, not to waste a move, you know. So he had his debut in 66, and I'm pretty sure Terry Funk did too. And everyone can fact check that, even though it wasn't on Wikipedia. I think it's in his book. So just enough of that. Yeah. Next one, go ahead and give us the next couple here.
Tony St. Clair, you've got here. Mm-hmm. Baron von Raschke. Started in 66. That's getting a little late for a Nazi gimmick, isn't it? 66. Jeez. Grand Cochise, and then Bobby Duncombe, who was an original member of the Bobby Heenan family in the AWA.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But that's the only ones I found listed there. Von Raschke there, was he a German or was he a Nazi or a German Nazi? When he first debuted, when you said it late, was he actually a Nazi?
Okay, so I'm going to do this.
I'm just curious.
I think he was supposed to be a Nazi sympathizer. I think.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Because I think that's what they started to do with their Nazis was they were like American Germans who were Nazi sympathizers. Because then you could at least say, well, no, they weren't like guards at Auschwitz or anything. Right.
Okay, that's why I thought you were going with that. I just clarify that for myself because that's kind of what the take I took on it as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I do. I get geeked out when I go back and see like all the Nazi characters and shit in the past. I'm just like, God damn, people. You know what I think is funny? You're talking about the Maritimes. They have 2 seasons up there. They have winter and August, basically.
Yeah, I lived through them. I didn't do winters. I left. I think the latest I stayed actually was October 1st, and it was they were already putting ice down in the arenas. You know, we were getting, towns were getting farther and farther in between. But I think I stayed to the end of September. One year, I think my second year, I stayed to the end of September.
I've turned people onto that show Corner Gas, and I get messages from our listeners who are like, "Oh, I finally watched it. You're right, it's a great show." What I find funny about that was that the show takes place in a small town in Saskatchewan, which I believe all the towns in Saskatchewan are small towns, but they stopped filming that show in September, and they would do like their winter episodes. They'd film them in September because when winter came around, the wind was so bitter and the snow was so deep and it was so damn cold that cameras can't run. So they did everything by mid-fall, trying to get everything out of the way.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, Canada, we forget how far north it is until wintertime hits. It is freaking cold up there. And
I'll tell you what, it's beautiful too, man. I out there in Nova Scotia and PEI, I was in New Brunswick, stayed in the Moncton area and, traveled around each week, and that was really nice. Flew in and out of Toronto for a cup of tea, here or there. I didn't get to, I saw the airport and a building and a hotel basically, several times. I didn't get out and visit there. But to get to the weather report, and I know you're familiar with this, I loved Vancouver. I loved Vancouver. But I tell you what, man, I was there in late September through October, and man, when it started raining and getting cold, I hurt, because we was up there doing that EA videos, sports, taking bumps every damn day, even sometimes at the end with a crash mat. But my God, that cold rain would come. I didn't like that part of it. We had some very beautiful days, but and I enjoyed every day I was there, but I'm just saying the couple days that it rained, it was a cold rain, and I could not get warm on those days for whatever reason, But I can't imagine. I have several friends still out in the Maritimes that I stay in touch with now via Twitter, or actually emails. Former newspaper lady up there, Mary Bond, bless her heart, loved her to death, and Nason, good friend of mine. But they and Dan Marsh, who was a referee, Daniel Little Bear. Anyway, just saying, those people, I don't know how they endured the winters up there. And of course, I told you the Giselle LeBlanc story, basically Mary fucking White, good for me. Anyway. She could outdrink me, just saying. But I wasn't about to go. She come to Florida to visit me. She come to Florida to visit me there. She came to Kentucky to visit me here. I did not go and visit her in the wintertime. No. I was there on tour, and I saw her when I saw her,
Oh, yeah.
So just saying.
Well, and for me especially, like, I'm in Central California. We get hot. We don't get cold. We don't get snow. When I go to a place where it's cold, I come apart pretty quick. I'm just like, nope. I don't drive in the snow. I don't dick around with down jackets and shit. Fuck this.
Well, you wouldn't have wanted to be here in February.
No. That's I try to do all my travel seasonally. I'm going to go to Greece in spring. I'll get out to your place. Probably not in summer, probably not in winter, maybe spring or fall. I'll get out to Kentucky,
That'd be the optimal time to be here, spring or fall, honestly. Yeah. It's getting ready. It's fitting to be beautiful out here in the fall, I will tell you that. I used to love spring, and I still do, but falls now, I just love falls here, man.
Bobby, how do you spell fitting to?
Finna. Okay. Finna. It's finna, baby. It's finna.
Okay, I was just checking. I was just making sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I just recently picked up at, that's kind of the way things are. So,
As the kids
all
would
part
say.
of I guess something, I don't know. I saw something similar to that, and I popped for it as well, just so you know. Let me think here what it was. I can't remember what the hell it was, but it's, you run these words together, and it's like, okay, trying to. You're going to try to do this. That's just, I guess, when you spell things out, that we do speak a certain way, and I'm like,
absolutely.
Okay, I run these words together now. I see the point here. Yeah. So anyway, it's been the storm here is what we're gonna say that, but no, we got beautiful. Once fall rolls around, it's beautiful foliage and very nice weather. At the end of October, it starts getting colder a little bit, and then towards November we start getting November rains, and then we might get a snow in December. So
just depends. Yeah. That's
but it's good.
I try to do all my travel seasonally. We'll wrap this up here, but I did want to bring up, since you're a writer, I came across several books in my past where they were just like advice on writing and writing dialogue specifically.
Mm-hmm. Gonna, by the way, I do gonna instead of Gonna is like, that's the way I say it, gonna, not going to. And when you're writing it, I gotta say going to. And I just put, gonna go back and fucking correct that word. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the book was, but somebody had written an entire book in dialect where all the words were spelled according to the accents and all. And 4 different books that I had picked up referenced that and said, don't fucking do this. Don't do this.
Yeah.
You pick out a couple words, a couple phrases. You don't do it to everything.
Yeah. I think gonna is the one that I probably had to go back and correct more than anything and put in going to. And except if it was a dialogue and someone's done a sentence here or there, I would put in, gonna. But other than that, I had to go back and do that. And I tell you just, I know we're getting off this just a little bit. I tell you some of those words that people, them, they, their, they'll, bored. Is it a board of education? Are you bored?
Yeah.
What? And it's some of these where you're like, motherfucker. When I read, I catch so much stuff. Just because I'm an avid reader, but also where I write and I'm going like, how am I supposed to read this? Yeah. And I read something every morning, generally just get up, do your deal, whatever. And I'm like, let me get just unfoggy. Let me do this. And you read something. I'm like, man, don't people write in proper English anymore? Don't you know it? The difference between bored and bored is, or there is, or is it there? Where? Okay, is it a person and you are there, or there living here, or I'm like, what? English is hard.
Yeah. Well, English is a fucked up language. I got to say that.
Yeah.
It is hard.
2 and 2.
Yeah. We have too many words that sound alike but mean different things and are spelled differently. English started off a German language, and then we were conquered by the Normans, so it became a half French, half German language. But then we've adopted all sorts of other words, especially here in America. We've taken Spanish words and Greek words and Latin words and thrown them in. Indian words, it's a fucked up language. Like, I was reading a thing one time in a podcast group on Facebook, right?
Okay.
This girl writes, where is a good place for potential people to hear your podcast or, hear about your podcast? I'm like, potential people? Abortion clinic? I don't fucking know. What do you even ask?
Yeah. Are they they're potential people? Well, I have to ask you this. When she put here, is it HEAR?
No,
what did she put HERE like here?
She actually spelled it correctly, but I have definitely seen, I've seen where people have got that wrong.
Yeah. But she was concerned about the potential people. Yeah, I don't know. Potentially, they're running down your mama's ass on the bed sheets. I don't know.
That one made my head hurt because I'm like, you need to read that sentence out loud before you hit send.
I got you, man. All right, but we better wrap things up, Jeremy.
Shit. Bullshit for a while. Hey, everybody, come on.
I don't know. That was the year 1966, folks. I'm sure that we missed a whole lot because it was 365 days of it, unless it was a leap year. I don't know. Just saying. But hell, it might have been.
Could have been.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I wasn't born quite yet, but
no,
you know.
I do remember some of it, honestly. Probably more the latter part of it, just like I said. But anyway. I hope we have not went over our time limit. It's a single elimination, one fall, 60-minute time limit, but it might have got that 5 more minutes in for you all, our good fans that listen to the Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze podcast. Thank you for tuning in, wrestling fans. Jeremy, take us out of here.
All right. Well, for the irreplaceable Tex Johnson, myself, Professor Jeremy Vilmur, and Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B Bobby Blaze. Bye-bye, y'all.